All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to MCubed. Of course, I am Schmook, and we have some great things to talk about. Of course, I am discussing HBO's The Last of Us, and it keeps getting good and fantastic, ladies and gentlemen, because holy cow. This was an episode I was really looking forward to based on what we saw at the end of last week's episode, which I thought was a good episode, but it was my least favorite so far. I still thought it was very good, well written. But again, my least favorite because I mean I like what they did, but I like Bill's character more in the video game. I like seeing his interaction with Joel and Ellie in real time. But I digress. Regardless, we get episode 4. So at the end of last week's episode, of course, you get a sneak peek. And I knew from that little glimpse, we're getting one of my favorite sequences in the whole show, which is or in the whole video game, which is just Joel and Ellie just going through the city. Even though in the game it's Pittsburgh, in the show it's Kansas City, but that doesn't really matter. Kind of hits harder for me living in Missouri because I've been to Kansas City, so that's kind of dope. Um, but yeah, again, from that little snippet, like you get them. I was able to catch a lot of glimpses into like Easter eggs, like stuff that they show in the video game. Because even in the little sneak peek, it's like buckle your seatbelt, he's not hurt, and stuff like that. And they do that so well in this. But let's just go from the beginning of this episode. So starts off, of course, it's Ellie and Joel in the car. I like that, just gets right into it. Doesn't skip a beat from the end of the last episode. I am kind of missing these intros about how the stuff, like how this apocalypse started. But I'm sure it might get into that eventually. But this is actually a good arc. This is going to be a two-part arc involving the Raiders and eventually Sam and Henry, who we do see at the end of this episode. So I'm excited for next, or not necessarily next week. It's this week's episode now because we have episode 5 coming out on Friday because of the Super Bowl on Sunday. They made the smart move. I doubt they'll move from the Oscar spot, which is in a few weeks as well. I highly doubt they move because they're killing it with ratings. And as we saw with the Grammys, The Last of Us kicked its ass. But anyway, so we go to the beginning of the episode. It's just Joel and Ellie in a car. You're obviously, or like they're filling up gas and whatnot. Ellie's just being a smart ass, and Joel's just trying to explain how to siphon or what siphoning gas is to Ellie, and she's like, "You have no idea how it's done." He's like, "Well, I know it works," and I'm like, "God, the dialogue between these two, it's so good. Like it's so natural. Like it feels so human. I feel that way, especially at the end of the episode, but we'll get there. And in the middle, but of course we'll discuss. But again, I just thought like I like her just cracking jokes, like having this little pun book basically, and Joel's just like, God damn it, like I can't deal with this. He hasn't been around like a kid in like forever, like fully spending so much time with a kid. And he loved his daughter. His daughter was his best friend. And you can tell throughout this episode, he's warming up greatly to Elliot. Like he's like, man, I haven't felt like this in a while because kids are great, Like I know Ellie's not necessarily innocent, but she's a kid. Like she has that kid humor, that like that's still that innocence, even though she's been exposed to this crazy world and has grown up in it, right? Regardless, we get to them in the car, and we get another great little homage to the video game, where obviously it's Bill's truck, and Ellie pulls out this porno mag for men, gay men. Uh, and she is like, I love how she pulls the whole thing down, and she's like, "Whoa, how do you carry around with that thing, or how do you walk around with that thing?" I'm like, brilliant, because that's straight from the video game. I'm happy they're still able to incorporate it into this, and like even her throwing it out the way, or she's like, "Whoa, why are these pages stuck together?" And Joel's like, She's like, "I'm just fucking with you, bro." And so she throws it out the window. "So long, dudes." And it's like, that's all straight from the video game, which I really love. I really love. But then the part that that I love the most, that they do change a little bit from the video game, but I still really enjoy. It kind of hits a little harder, in my humble opinion, than in the game. is where Ellie hands Joel this Hank Williams cassette, and it starts playing "Alone and Forsaken," which I think is a fantastic song. I've loved it since I played the video game, because again, it's one of my favorite sequences. In the video game, it's when the guy's limping. He's like, "Help me!" Excuse me. Um, that's when the song's playing. It's kind of crazy that it molds with that, especially when it gets into all the action that's going on, because we see what happens a little bit later in the episode. But in this, I like that it's just them driving on. It's like they're just driving down the highway. They're on 70, which is a highway I've driven on quite a bit going to school. Um, so that was nice to see. But like just them driving past like this railroad track where you see like a train hanging off, like an abandoned like roller coaster, like a theme park, and then all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, man, with Alone and Forsaken playing, I'm like, it's just you seeing how this stuff doesn't matter. It's just for our entertainment. And it's like it's convenience. But it's like, wow, it's just gone, and Alone and Forsaken. So it hit hard. It hit home. I thought this was a very deep episode. Hit a lot of human elements. Like, what if it's all gone? And it's like, well, it's just what it was. It's just history now. It just happens. Just lay there. So I thought that was nice. And then they get into the city, and that's when we run into the Raiders, the Hunters, whatever. No, they're the Raiders. The Hunters are a little bit later down the line. But I like how like Joel knows what's going on. Like he's been on both sides. He says that in the episode. But like once they crash their car, like I love how, well, I like how he sees the guy. He's immediately like seatbelt on now, and she's like, what now? And then he just starts driving, and like they're just getting ambushed. And they crash their car, and they're in like some convenience store, right? I love the second like they crash. She's like, "You good? You good?" She's like, "Yeah, you gotta go. We gotta get out now." She's like, "Okay." And they're just getting shot at during this. And this was a scene that really hit me. It's just Joel being like, "Listen, you need to, like, look at me. You have to listen to everything I'm saying. Like, we're gonna be all right. You will be all right. You are gonna have to go through this hole." And like he's just basically being like, you have to trust me here. I've been through this, and you'll be okay, but you have to trust me, and I will be okay. So he lays down cover fire, and she crawls through the hole, and then some guy sneaks in while he's like, like trying to piece off some of these guys to give cover for Ellie. And a guy sneaks in and starts choking out Joel, and Ellie's like, I have to save this guy. So she has to make the unfortunate choice to save this man that she trusts. Like they don't know each other that much, but they trust each other, and they get each other. So she makes the choice to shoot this guy. And what kills me is like this. It's like this kid, right? Like he's just begging. He's like, "Listen, my name's this. I have a family. Like, please get my mom. I can't breathe. I'm scared." Shit like that. And then Joel's like, "Go back in the hole." And then he just takes the guy out. I thought it was crazy. And then so then after that we get the can't remember the actress's name. She's in 2.5 Men. She plays Rose. I believe it's Melanie something, or it's something along those lines. I think she did a fine job. I don't think her acting was really that great, but I think the character is interesting. I'm curious to know more about this character. But again, we didn't get much of that. It's just we know that she's like the leader of this group in Kansas City, where obviously the government's not there anymore, or the military. So it's just people, and like sometimes people can just be the scariest part out there. But it seems like it's like a civilization, right? To an extent, but like the fact that they'll just murk anyone that comes through. Obviously, there's something that's going on within their own ranks, where she's looking for Henry, who again, you guys don't really know who Henry is, or Sam. But yeah, that's really it that I got from her character and that whole sequence. But it was fine. And then I think we get into the part that I really enjoy is Joel and Ellie just trying to, be underground, or like trying to be, they have to be safe going through the city, right? And they're climbing up this staircase, and it's like, I like that Joel's just like, listen, like, or in this, it's like a bar, right? And Joel's just like, I wish you didn't have to do that. Like, I'm sorry that you had to. And you did have to if you wanted to save my life. She's like, it's cool. He's like, it's not. I mean, you're 14. Like, I know this world's messed up, but you should not have to go through this. No one should, but especially a 14-year-old girl killing someone. It's hard. And then like, Joel's like, yeah, I know my first time was rough, and stuff like that. I was just like, it wasn't my first time. Joel's like, okay, show me how you hold a gun, and he teaches her exactly how to hold a gun. Blah blah blah. Like it's training. It's awesome. Like there's that trust. It's continuing to grow, which I really love. Like I love these two characters so much, and I think Pedro and Bella are doing an insanely good job portraying these characters. I think they're capturing the essence of who these characters are, yet still putting their own thing on it, right? But it really makes me happy to see these characters be brought to life in a magical way, right? Now we get to, I know I'm probably missing another key component of dialogue that feels very real and very human. I'm trying to remember it, but regardless, I still like the very end scene, because I can't. I watched this episode twice. I can't remember this one scene, which sucks, but it is what it is. But the ending scene is my favorite scene, besides the Sarah death scene, or basically the whole prologue. This has been my favorite scene in the show. This is definitely my second favorite episode, but I'll get to that towards the end. But it's just Joel and Ellie trying to catch some Z's, right? And oh yeah, I remembered some stuff, but I just want to talk. Well, maybe I'll get back to this, because I'll end on that, because it's my favorite part. Because I just remembered some dialogue. This is before they even get into the city. Like Joel's like describing how like people, and then like how we're too secluded for infected to be here, blah blah blah. Or like he's like, why I can't light a fire. Ellie's like, oh, infected will see. He's like, oh, they're not that smart. Stuff like that. And then I like Joel and Ellie, or in the morning, Joel's making coffee and whatnot, and he still can barely sleep at night. Like there's that shot when Ellie's asleep where Joel's just standing there. That thing's wild. Like honestly, like this man, like he has nightmares every time he sleeps about his daughter, guaranteed. Anyway, he's just making coffee and whatnot. She's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Shit." Like, yeah, I mean, it's not the best. I mean, but it used to be pretty good, and coffee is pretty good. But a lot of people, it's not their thing, regardless. So I like that. And then again, there's more. I'm trying to remember the stairwell scene, which I really liked, because again, my highlight for this episode is just any piece of Joel and Ellie dialogue, because I thought it was all brilliant and very well crafted dialogue. All in all, I think it was all well written. So I'm gonna get to the ending, where it's Joel and Ellie trying to get some sleep again, and it's just Ellie giving a pun to Joel, and she's like, "Do you know diarrhea is like hereditary?" He's like, "What?" And she's like, "It runs in your genes." And I like Joel just cracking up, being like, "That's so fucking stupid." I'm like, "Oh, this is brilliant." Like he loves it. He loves this, and they're just laughing together before they fall asleep. I'm like, that hits the heart, And it's Joel being like fully happy in a while, God, it's fantastic. Like it's again masterfully crafted like script. I think it handled these characters magnificently. The episode was gorgeous too. Some good action. I think next episodes where we get a ton more action. I think episode 5 is gonna be the first like truly ultra action heavy episode that we've gotten thus far. Because we've had some very good action sequences so far, but nothing like huge. I think we're getting that next episode no matter what. But anyway, so the episode fully ends when Joel's able to just actually sleep, because he hasn't been able to do that in a while. And they're in like a pretty safe spot too. Oh, that is another thing. I like how Joel's breaking the glass and whatnot, and she's like, "Why are you doing that?" And then he's stepping on the glass so I can hear in case anyone comes. And she's like, "Oh." So I'm like, obviously this dude has a high IQ. And yeah, very God, it's such a good episode. But anyway, it ends with us seeing Sam and Henry. They're able to sneak in on up on Joel and Ellie, and then just that shot of, well, one, like Henry has Ellie, and then it's just Sam above Joel with a gun. He just goes. I'm like, that's kind of haunting. But Sam and Henry are two amazing characters. I can't wait for Friday to watch this episode. Um, because in the sneak peek we see so much in it. I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna get so much action, and you're gonna see our first bloater. And the design looks so good compared to the game. Like this thing looks beefy, like a tank. Like in the show, like they're hard to kill. Or in the game, they're hard to kill, but it doesn't seem like a jacked infected. In the show, it does. Like in the game, it's like a fat thing, right? But I look forward to next week's, well, Fridays now, which is awesome. So now we have to wait way less time to get more Last of Us, but then we have to wait a while after that. So, but I think that this next episode is gonna hit hard for people, guaranteed, because you're gonna get you're gonna get some Sam and Henry backstory, which we never had in the game. But you're gonna be able to fall in love with these characters in the way, and just them being with Ellie and Joel is nice. Like it's just two guys with a kid, each having a kid with them, and like it's nice to have Ellie and Sam interact with each other because it's just two kids being able to be kids, you know. And Henry and Joel are gonna be like, oh, this is good to see, but at the same time they're being hunted by these raiders. So I look forward for the next episode. This episode is easily my second favorite. Very dialogue heavy, but I thought it was all gold because it's never felt so natural. I haven't seen anything so natural of dialogue like in almost anything, in my opinion, where it's just like this feels like two people just sitting down and having a conversation. It doesn't feel like an ultra scripted thing. Like it's just natural, and I love that. And it's just so human, and has to be because the last of us, the last humans there are. And it's nice to see, like, no matter what, even at the end of the world, just these conversations are just, it's what makes us human. Just talking to another human being in a very natural setting, not for work or anything else, just being human. And but yeah, I think that's gonna do it though, guys. Again, this is my second favorite episode so far of the show. All of them have been great. Yeah, look forward to Friday, guys. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to stream right away. Maybe I will. I might be home, or at least I might be able to later that night or Saturday morning. I'll let you guys know. No matter what, Sunday's the Super Bowl, so that's not gonna be able to happen. So I'll make sure to get a live stream out to you guys for sure. But yeah, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed me talking a little bit about my favorite show currently on television. And next week we're gonna have a lot to talk about. All right, guys. I'll catch y'all very soon.